The sky looked angry that morning. Dark clouds rolled across the sun like giant fists, and thunder rumbled so deep that Maya felt it in her bones. She walked slowly through the junkyard, her bare feet careful on the hot metal scraps that covered the ground like a blanket of broken dreams. Maya was only 10 years old, but she had been alone for 2 years now. Her stomach growled. It always did. In her hand, she clutched the most precious thing she owned, a plastic water bottle, half full. She had found it yesterday behind the old gas station. The water inside was warm and a little cloudy, but it was hers. It was life. The junkyard stretched forever in every direction. Twisted cars sat on top of each other like sleeping metal monsters. Rusty refrigerators lay with their doors hanging open like hungry mouths. Somewhere in the distance, Maya heard a groaning sound, like the earth itself was in pain. She was looking for food. Sometimes people threw away whole bags of chips or half-eaten sandwiches near the junkyard fence. Sometimes she found cans with a little bit of soup still inside. Today, she hoped to find something, anything, before the storm came. That's when she saw him. At first, she thought it was just another pile of trash. But then she saw the hand, a human hand, reaching out from beneath a collapsed sheet of corrugated metal. The fingers moved slightly, trembling like the wings of a dying bird. Maya's heart jumped into her throat. She wanted to run. Mama had always told her to stay away from strangers. But Mama was gone now, and this stranger looked like he was dying. She crept closer, her feet crunching on broken glass. The man lay trapped in the metal, his face covered in dirt and blood. His suit, yes, he wore a fancy suit, was torn and stained. His breathing came in short, painful gasps. "Help," he whispered, so quietly that Maya almost didn't hear it. "Please, help." Maya knelt beside him. His eyes opened slightly, and she saw fear swimming in them, the same fear she saw in the mirror every morning. He was terrified. "I'll help you," Maya said, though her voice shook. She was just a little girl. How could she help? She looked at the metal sheet pinning him down. It was too heavy for her to lift, but maybe she could pull him out from under it. Maya grabbed his arm and pulled with all her strength. The man groaned in pain, but he didn't move. "Water," he gasped. "Please, water." Maya looked down at her bottle, her only bottle, the water that was supposed to last her 3 more days, the water that meant the difference between life and death for her. Her hands shook as she unscrewed the cap. "Here," she whispered, lifting his head gently and pressing the bottle to his cracked lips. "Drink slowly." The man drank like he had been lost in the desert for 100 years. Water dribbled down his chin, mixing with the blood and dirt. When he finished, half the bottle was gone. Half of Maya's life was gone. But the man's eyes opened wider, clearer now. "Thank you," he breathed. "You saved my life." "Who are you?" Maya asked. "What happened?" The man's eyes darted left and right, searching the junkyard as if monsters might jump out at any moment. "My name is Richard," he said. "Richard Sterling. And I'm in terrible danger. We're in terrible danger." "What do you mean?" Maya felt cold fear creeping up her spine like spider legs. "They're hunting me," Richard whispered urgently. He reached into his torn jacket and pulled out a small black briefcase, pressing it into Maya's hands. "This case, it is proof. Proof that powerful people have done terrible things. Stolen money from thousands of families. Hurt innocent people. I was going to give it to the police, but they found out. They tried to kill me." Maya held the briefcase like it was made of fire. Who's trying to kill you?" "Men with no hearts," Richard said. His breathing got faster, more panicked. "They have guns. They have trucks. They won't stop until—" A sound cut through the air, a mechanical hum, low and menacing, coming from somewhere beyond the wall of wrecked cars. Then another sound, boots crunching on metal, getting closer. "They're here." Richard's face went white as snow. "They found me. You have to run. Take the case and run." "I'm not leaving you," Maya said, surprising herself with her own bravery. The humming grew louder. Now Maya could hear voices, deep, angry voices calling out commands. "Search Sector 7. He can't have gone far. Listen to me. Richard grabbed Maya's arm with sudden strength. You're the bravest person I've ever met. That water you gave me, that was everything to you, and you gave it freely. Now I need you to be brave again. Help me up. We run together or we die together. Maya's heart hammered like a drum in a parade. She was terrified, but she had already made her choice when she gave him water. She couldn't abandon him now. She grabbed his arm and pulled with all her might. Richard groaned and pushed with his legs. Inch by inch, he slid out from under the metal sheet. His leg was bleeding badly, and he could barely stand, but he was free. There's an old shelter, Maya whispered, past the refrigerators, through the tunnel of cars. I sleep there sometimes. We can hide. The voices were getting closer now. Maya could hear radios crackling with static and instructions. Movement in Sector 8. Move in. Richard leaned heavily on Maya's small shoulders. Together, they stumbled forward, leaving a trail of blood drops on the dusty ground. The briefcase hung from Maya's other hand, suddenly feeling as heavy as the whole world. Above them, thunder exploded like a bomb. The first raindrops began to fall. Fat, warm drops that hit the metal around them with sharp pinging sounds. The storm was coming. The hunters were coming. And Maya, a small homeless girl with nothing but courage in her heart, was running for her life with strangers' secrets in her hands and danger breathing down her neck. Behind them, she heard a shout. There! I see blood. They went this way. Maya ran faster, half dragging Richard through the maze of wreckage. Her shelter was close now. So close. But would they make it in time? The rain fell harder and the thunder roared, and Maya's feet flew across the broken ground as fast as they could go. She didn't know who Richard really was. She didn't know what secrets lived inside that black briefcase. She only knew one thing. She had saved a dying man, and now both their lives hung by a thread as thin as spider silk. The real danger was just beginning. Maya's lungs burned like fire. Her legs screamed at her to stop, but she couldn't. She wouldn't. Richard's weight pressed down on her small shoulders as they stumbled through the rain-soaked junkyard. Every step left bloody footprints that the rain tried to wash away, but not fast enough. Keep going, Richard gasped. Don't stop. Please don't stop. Behind them, the voices grew louder. Faster. They're heading toward the east side. Maya saw her shelter up ahead, a tunnel made of old cars stacked on top of each other, creating a dark passage that led to a small space she called home. It wasn't much. Just a dry spot under a tipped-over bus where she kept her blanket and the few treasures she had found over the years. But right now it looked like a castle. Almost there, she panted. They dove into the tunnel just as a bright light swept across the spot where they had been standing. Flashlight beams cut through the rain like swords, searching, hunting. Did you see that? A gruff voice called out. Movement by the cars. Check it out. And be careful. Sterling is dangerous. Maya and Richard crawled deeper into the tunnel, the metal walls pressing on both sides, and the sound of rain drumming on the cars above them was deafening. Maya's hand shook as she guided Richard through the darkness. She knew every inch of this tunnel. She had crawled through it 100 times. But Richard was bigger, and his injured leg kept catching on sharp edges. Where does this lead? Richard whispered. To my home, Maya said. It's safe. No one knows about it. They emerged into the small space under the bus. Maya had made it cozy in her own way. A tattered blanket lay in the corner. 3 books with torn pages sat stacked like a tiny tower. A rusty can held wildflowers she had picked last week. It was all she had in the world. Richard collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. Blood still seeped from his leg. In the dim light filtering through cracks in the bus, Maya could finally see his face clearly. He was older than her papa would have been, maybe 40 or 50 years old. His hair was gray at the edges, and his eyes, though filled with pain, held a strange kindness. You live here? Richard asked, looking around at her small home. His voice cracked with emotion. Alone? Maya nodded. For 2 years now, since Mama got sick and went to heaven. Richard closed his eyes. A tear rolled down his dirty cheek. A child shouldn't have to live like this. No child should be alone. I'm okay, Maya said, though her voice was small. I know how to survive. Richard looked at her, really looked at her, and Maya saw something change in his eyes. It was like he was seeing her for the first time. Not just a girl who had saved him, but a person. A brave, incredible person who had given everything to a stranger. Maya, he said softly. That's your name, right? I heard you whisper it when you were pulling me. She nodded. Maya, I need to tell you something important. Richard reached for the briefcase she had set down. He clicked it open, and Maya gasped. Inside were papers. Hundreds of papers covered in numbers and words she couldn't read. But there were also photographs. Pictures of men in expensive suits shaking hands. Pictures of buildings with big signs. And pictures of families. Sad families holding signs that said things like, "Where's our money?" and "Justice for the stolen." These men, Richard pointed to the photographs, are very rich and very powerful. They run banks and companies. And they've been stealing money from regular people for years, taking their savings, taking their homes. I worked for them once, but when I discovered what they were doing, I collected proof. This proof. Why do they want to hurt you? Maya asked, though she thought she knew the answer. Because with this proof, they'll go to jail. They'll lose everything. So they hired bad men, hunters, to stop me before I could give this to the police. Richard's hands trembled as he closed the case. I never thought they'd find me here, in this junkyard. I was hiding, waiting for my friend to pick me up. But they found me first. They knocked me down with their truck and left me to die. A sound made them both freeze. Footsteps. Closed footsteps. Walking slowly past the tunnel entrance. Check every hiding spot, a cold voice commanded. He's here somewhere. I can feel it. Maya pressed her hand over her mouth to keep from making a sound. Richard grabbed her other hand and squeezed it gently, his eyes saying, "Stay quiet. Stay still." The footsteps stopped right outside the tunnel. Maya could see the beam of a flashlight probing the entrance. Her heart beat so loud she was sure the hunter could hear it. "This tunnel's too small," another voice said. "No way a grown man could fit through there. Check it anyway." Maya's eyes went wide with terror. If they came into the tunnel, they would find them for sure. There was nowhere else to hide. This was the end. But then a miracle happened. From somewhere far away came a loud crash, the sound of metal falling and clanging. The hunter spun around. What was that? Sector 9. Something fell. "Move out. Go, go, go." The footsteps ran away, splashing through puddles, racing toward the sound. Within seconds, silence returned, broken only by the patter of rain. Richard let out a breath he'd been holding. "We got lucky, but they'll be back." "What do we do?" Maya asked. Fear made her voice shake. "We can't stay here. They'll search every inch of this junkyard eventually." Richard tried to stand but fell back with a groan. His leg was too injured. "Maya, I need you to listen carefully. There's a sewage tunnel about 200 yards from here, past the old factory building. Do you know it?" Maya thought hard. "The smelly tunnel? With the green water?" "Yes. That tunnel leads under the fence, outside the junkyard. If we can reach it, we can escape to the street. My friend, a man I trust, is supposed to be waiting near there with a truck. But I don't know if he's still there or if the hunters got to him too." Maya's mind raced. 200 yards wasn't far, but Richard could barely walk. And the hunters were everywhere now, searching with lights and radios and guns. How could they possibly make it? "I'll help you," Maya said firmly. "We'll go together, just like before." Richard smiled through his pain. "You're the bravest person I know, Maya. Do you know that?" She didn't feel brave. She felt scared and small and tired. But she had come this far. She couldn't give up now. They waited until the rain grew heavier, using the storm as cover. Then they crawled back through the tunnel, moving as quietly as shadows. Richard bit his lip to keep from crying out as his leg dragged across the metal ground. When they emerged from the tunnel, the junkyard looked different. Flashlight beams crisscrossed the darkness like glowing spider webs. The hunters were everywhere, moving in pairs, talking into radios. "Command, this is Hunter 3. No sign in Sector 9. The noise was just falling debris. Copy that. Expand your search. He's wounded and can't have gone far." Maya and Richard pressed themselves flat against an old refrigerator, hiding in its shadow. The factory building was ahead, a dark, looming shape with broken windows like empty eyes. Beyond it would be the sewage tunnel. Freedom. They moved from hiding spot to hiding spot, behind a pile of tires, under a rusted truck, through a maze of shopping carts. Every few seconds, they had to freeze as a hunter passed nearby. Maya's heart felt like it might explode from fear. They were almost at the factory when disaster struck. Richard's foot caught on a piece of wire. He fell hard with a loud grunt of pain. The briefcase skittered across the ground with a metallic scrape that sounded like thunder in the quiet. "Over there!" a voice shouted. I heard something. 3 flashlight beams snapped toward them. 3 dark figures started running, pulling guns from their belts. "Run!" Richard yelled. Maya grabbed the briefcase and pulled Richard to his feet. They stumbled forward as fast as they could. Behind them, she heard the hunters shouting into their radios. "Target spotted, east side of the factory. We need backup now." They crashed through the factory's broken door. Inside, it was pitch black. Water dripped from holes in the ceiling. The floor was covered with broken glass and old machine parts. Maya's feet found the path by memory. She had explored this building before, looking for things to trade for food. "This way," she gasped, pulling Richard to the left. Behind them, the hunters burst through the door. Their flashlights swept the darkness. "Split up. Cover all exits." Maya led Richard deeper into the factory, through a narrow hallway, down a flight of crumbling stairs. The sewage tunnel was close now. She could smell it, that awful rotten smell that used to make her gag. But tonight, that smell meant hope. They found the tunnel entrance, a round hole in the ground with a rusty ladder leading down into darkness. Green, slimy water flowed at the bottom, disappearing under the factory wall. "We have to climb down," Maya whispered. Richard looked at his injured leg, then at the ladder. "I don't think I can make it." "You have to try. Please." Tears filled Maya's eyes. They had come so far. They couldn't give up now. From somewhere above, she heard footsteps echoing through the factory. Check the basement. He might be trying for the sewage line. Richard took a deep breath. "Okay, let's do this." Maya went first, climbing down the slippery ladder. The briefcase made it hard to balance, but she held on tight. When she reached the bottom, her feet splashed into the gross water. It was cold and slimy and came up to her knees. "Come on," she called up. Richard started climbing down. His good leg found each rung, but his injured leg dangled uselessly. Halfway down, his hand slipped. He fell, splashing hard into the water beside Maya. "Are you okay?" Maya helped him up. "I'm okay," Richard gasped. "Keep moving." They waded through the tunnel. The water moved slowly, pulling at their legs. The walls dripped with slime, and the smell was so bad that Maya had to breathe through her mouth. But they kept going, kept pushing forward. Behind them, a flashlight beam cut through the darkness. Someone had reached the tunnel entrance. "I see them. They're in the sewage tunnel." But Maya and Richard were almost at the end. Up ahead, she saw light. Real light, not flashlights. Street light from outside the junkyard. "Almost there," Maya said. They climbed out of the tunnel, into a dark alley. Rain poured down, washing away the sewage smell. Across the street, Maya saw a beat-up old truck, with its lights off. Suddenly, the truck's door opened. A woman jumped out, tall, with short hair and a scar across her cheek. She saw Richard and her eyes went wide. "Sterling, I've been waiting for hours. I thought you were dead." "Not dead yet, Sarah." Richard called back. "But we need to leave now." The woman, Sarah, looked at Maya with surprise. "Who's the kid?" "The girl who saved my life." Richard said, "Come on." But before they could run to the truck, a figure appeared at the end of the alley. A tall man, wearing a black mask. In his hands was a gun, pointed right at them. "End of the line, Sterling," the masked man said calmly. "Hand over the case, and maybe I'll let the girl live." Maya felt like she had been turned to stone. This was it. After everything, they were caught. Her hands tightened on the briefcase. She had carried it this far. She couldn't give it up now. Sarah moved like lightning. She pulled out her own gun and fired into the air. The masked man dove for cover. "Get to the truck." Sarah screamed. Maya and Richard ran. Bullets sparked off the alley walls. Sarah fired back, giving them cover. They reached the truck and threw themselves inside. Sarah jumped into the driver's seat and turned the key. Nothing happened. She turned it again. The engine coughed and died. "No, no, no." Sarah pounded the steering wheel. "Start, you stupid truck." The masked man was getting closer, reloading his gun. Maya had an idea. "Wait. My uncle used to have a truck like this. You have to pump the gas pedal 3 times first, then turn the key while holding your breath." Sarah looked at her like she was crazy. "Hold my breath." "Just try it." Sarah pumped the gas pedal 3 times, held her breath, and turned the key. The engine roared to life like a lion waking up. "Hang on." Sarah yelled. The truck shot forward just as bullets shattered the back window. They roared out of the alley onto the street, leaving the masked man and the junkyard behind them. Maya looked back through the broken window. The junkyard grew smaller and smaller, its ruins fading into the rainy darkness. She had lived there for 2 years. It had been her home, her prison, and now the site of the scariest night of her life. But she had survived. They had survived. Richard put his arm around her shoulders. "You did it, Maya. You saved us. Again." Maya held the briefcase tight against her chest. Inside it were secrets that could change the world. And somehow, a homeless girl with nothing had become the guardian of those secrets. But as the truck sped through the dark streets, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. The masked man was still out there, and something told her that when the sun came up, the real danger would finally show its face. The rain poured down, the truck rolled on, and Maya's incredible journey was only just beginning. The truck rattled down empty streets as rain hammered against the windshield. Maya sat squeezed between Richard and Sarah, still clutching the briefcase like it was made of gold. Her clothes were soaked, and she smelled like sewage, but she was alive. They were all alive. "Where are we going?" Maya asked. Sarah kept her eyes on the road, her hands gripping the steering wheel tight. "Somewhere safe. Somewhere they won't find us." "There is nowhere safe," Richard said quietly. His face had gone very pale, and sweat dripped down his forehead despite the cold. "They have people everywhere. Police officers who work for them. Government workers. Even judges. That's what makes this so dangerous." Maya looked down at the briefcase. "What's really in here? You show me papers and pictures, but what does it all mean?" Richard took a deep breath. "It means that 5 very powerful men have been stealing money from regular people for 10 years. They would trick families into taking loans they couldn't afford, then take their houses when they couldn't pay. They stole retirement money from old people. They even took money that was supposed to help sick children. Also, they could buy fancy cars and big mansions and live like kings. That's not fair." Maya felt anger burning in her chest. She thought about all the families she had seen, sitting on sidewalks with their belongings in bags. Nowhere to go. Had these men done that to them? "No, it's not fair," Sarah said. "That's why Richard collected proof. Every document in that case is evidence. Bank records, secret emails, recorded phone calls. Everything we need to put those men in prison forever. Then why don't we just give it to the police?" Maya asked. "Because some of the police work for them," Richard explained. "We need to give it to the right people. Honest people. Sarah knows a reporter. A good woman who will share the truth with the whole world. But we have to reach her first." Suddenly, bright lights flashed behind them. Maya turned to look. 3 black cars were racing up the street, getting closer and closer. "They found us!" Sarah yelled. She pressed the gas pedal down hard. The old truck groaned and shook, but went faster. The black cars sped up too. They were newer, shinier, and much faster than the beat-up truck. "Hold on." Sarah yanked the steering wheel to the right. The truck skidded around a corner. Maya's stomach flipped. The briefcase nearly flew out of her hands, but she held on tight. Behind them, the black cars turned too. One of them pulled up beside the truck. Maya saw the window roll down. The masked man from the alley leaned out, his gun pointed right at them. "Get down!" Richard yelled. Bang! 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 Bullets hit the side of the truck. The window next to Maya exploded into 1,000 pieces. She screamed and ducked down, covering her head with her arms. Sarah swerved left, ramming the truck into the black car. Metal screeched against metal. The black car spun out of control and crashed into a parked van. 2 more still coming. Richard shouted. Sarah drove like a person possessed. She ran red lights. She drove on the sidewalk. She took turns so sharp that the truck almost tipped over. But the black car stayed right behind them, hunting them like wolves chasing rabbits. "We can't outrun them." Sarah said, "This truck is too old, too slow." Maya's mind raced. They needed help. They needed somewhere to go. And then she remembered something. The bridge. Maya shouted, "Take us to the old Jefferson Bridge." "That bridge is falling apart." Sarah said, "Nobody uses it anymore." "Exactly." Maya said, "Those fancy cars are too heavy. They'll break right through the old wood. But our truck is lighter. We can make it across." Sarah and Richard looked at each other. It was a crazy idea. Dangerous. Maybe even impossible. But they were out of options. "Do it," Richard said. Sarah yanked the wheel and drove toward the river. The old Jefferson Bridge appeared ahead. A narrow wooden bridge that stretched across dark water. Warning signs said danger, bridge closed, and do not cross, but Sarah drove right past them. The truck's wheels hit the wooden planks. The whole bridge shook and groaned like a sleeping giant waking up. Behind them, the 2 black cars followed without slowing down. "Faster!" Maya yelled. Halfway across, they heard a terrible sound, crack. One of the black cars crashed through the rotten wood. It fell into the river below with a huge splash. The driver jumped free just in time, landing hard on the bridge. The second black car slowed down, but it was too late. More wood cracked and broke. The car's front wheels punched through the planks. It hung there, stuck, its back wheels spinning uselessly. Sarah's truck bounced and rattled across the bridge. More would crack beneath them, but they were lighter, faster. They made it to the other side, just as a huge section of the bridge collapsed into the water behind them. "We did it!" Maya couldn't believe it. "We actually did it." But their celebration was short. Up ahead, blocking the road, were 5 more black cars. And standing in front of them was a man Maya had never seen before. He wore an expensive suit that probably cost more money than Maya had seen in her entire life. His hair was perfectly combed. His shoes were so shiny they reflected the morning light, because the sun was rising now. Dawn had come, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. The rain had stopped. The man smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a shark. "Mr. Sterling," the man said in a smooth voice, "you've led us on quite a chase. I'm impressed. Really I am, but this is where it ends." Sarah stopped the truck. There was nowhere else to go. Behind them, the bridge was destroyed. Ahead, 5 cars blocked their path. They were trapped. Richard opened the truck door and stepped out. He could barely stand on his injured leg, but he stood tall and proud. "Mr. Blackwood, I should have known you'd come yourself." "Of course I came," Mr. Blackwood said. "You have something that belongs to me." "It doesn't belong to you," Richard said. "It belongs to the truth." Mr. Blackwood laughed. "Truth? Truth is whatever people with power say it is. And I have all the power." He looked at Maya, who was still sitting in the truck. "Bring me the case, little girl, and I'll let you go. I'll even give you money. Enough money to buy food for a year. Maybe 2 years. You'll never be hungry again." Maya held the briefcase tighter. A whole year of food. 2 years. It sounded like heaven. Her stomach growled, reminding her how hungry she always was. "Don't listen to him, Maya." Richard said softly. He's lying. Am I? Mr. Blackwood smiled again. Think about it, child. What has this man given you? Danger. Fear. You've been shot at. Chased. Nearly killed. And for what? For papers that mean nothing to you? Give me the case. Take the money. Go live your life. Maya looked at the briefcase. Then she looked at Richard. He had tears in his eyes. I'm sorry, Maya, Richard whispered. I'm so sorry I got you into this. If you want to give him the case, I won't blame you. You've already been braver than anyone could expect. You've already done more than enough. Maya thought about her mama. Before she died, Mama had told her something important. She had said, Maya, baby, being poor doesn't mean you have to be small. You can still do big things. You can still make a difference. Never forget that you matter. Maya climbed out of the truck. She walked forward slowly, the briefcase in her hands. Mr. Blackwood's smile grew wider. His men stepped aside to let her through. But Maya didn't walk to Mr. Blackwood. She walked to Richard and stood beside him. I'm not giving it to him, Maya said loudly. Her voice didn't shake at all. My mama told me to do big things, to matter, and I think keeping these papers away from you is a very big thing. Mr. Blackwood's smile vanished. His face turned red with anger. You stupid little girl. Do you have any idea what you've just done? She's done something you never could, said a new voice. Everyone turned. Walking up the road was a woman with gray hair and glasses. She carried a camera and a microphone. Behind her were more people, reporters, photographers, people with video cameras. Dozens of them. She's shown real courage, the woman continued. And thanks to her, the whole world is about to learn the truth about you, Mr. Blackwood. Sarah jumped out of the truck, laughing with joy. Linda, you got my message. Got it 10 minutes ago. Linda, the reporter, said. You said to bring everyone I could trust. So I brought them all. She held up a phone. We've been live streaming this entire conversation. Millions of people just watched you try to bribe a child. They heard you admit that you have power, that you believe you're above the truth. Mr. Blackwood's face went white. He looked at his men. Grab the case. Grab it now. But the men didn't move. They looked at all the cameras, at all the reporters, and they knew it was over. Police cars appeared, real police cars, driven by honest officers who work with Linda. They surrounded Mr. Blackwood and his men. Within minutes, they were all in handcuffs. Richard fell to his knees, crying, not from pain, but from relief. Sarah hugged him. Linda and the other reporters gathered around Maya. What's your name? Linda asked gently, kneeling down to Maya's level. Maya, she said quietly. She suddenly felt very tired. Maya, you're a hero. Do you know that? Maya didn't feel like a hero. She felt like a small, hungry girl who just wanted to sleep for a week. Richard stood up and limped over to her. Maya, he said, his voice thick with emotion, you saved my life. Not once, but twice. You gave me your water when you had almost nothing. You carried my burden when it wasn't yours to carry. You stood up to evil men, even though you were terrified. I owe you everything. You don't owe me anything, Maya said. I just did what Mama would have wanted. Well, your Mama raised an extraordinary person. Richard wiped his eyes. Maya, I'm a wealthy man. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. And I want to share it with you. I want to give you a home, send you to school, make sure you never go hungry again. I want to adopt you. If you'll let me, I want to be your family. Maya's eyes went very wide. You want to be my family? More than anything in the world. Maya thought about her tiny shelter in the junkyard. She thought about being hungry every day. She thought about being alone. And then she thought about having a home, having family again, having someone to care about her. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I want that. Richard pulled her into a hug. Sarah joined them. Even Linda wiped away tears. The sun rose higher in the sky, warming the earth. The dark night was over. A new day had begun. 6 months later. Maya sat at a desk in her new room. It was a beautiful room with blue walls and a real bed with soft blankets. Outside her window, she could see a garden with flowers and trees. Books lined the shelves, hundreds of books, all hers to read whenever she wanted. She was writing in a journal, telling the story of that incredible night. The night a homeless girl saved a millionaire. The night she carried truth on her shoulders and never let it fall. Richard knocked on the door. "Maya, dinner's ready. Sarah made your favorite, spaghetti and meatballs." Maya smiled. "I'll be right there, Dad." Yes, she called him Dad now, because that's what he was. Her father, her family. As she walked downstairs, she passed a newspaper framed on the wall. The headline read, "Young hero helps expose corrupt businessmen. 5 wealthy men sentenced to prison thanks to brave girl's actions." Below it was a photo of Maya holding the briefcase, standing tall and proud. She had been a homeless girl with nothing, but she had given everything to save a stranger. And in doing so, she had changed her own life and the lives of thousands of others. Because sometimes the smallest people can do the biggest things. Sometimes one bottle of water shared with kindness can change the entire world. Maya learned that you don't need to be big to be brave. You don't need to be rich to be generous. You just need to have a good heart and the courage to do what's right, even when you're scared. And Maya had both. If you love Maya's incredible story of courage and kindness, like this video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing true stories that will touch your heart. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that could change the way you see the world. Drop a comment below telling us what you would have done in Maya's situation.